Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to That 70s Rock Fan. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. Spoiler alert, disclaimer, a dear friend of mine, Mr. Gerry Kissel.
Disclaimer, he's a drummer.
Well, that's one of the things I did want to talk about because I've incorrectly labeled you several times as a musician. You are, in actual fact, a drummer. Is that not true?
I
Rather than a
was
musician.
originally a drummer, and then I became a musician because of that joke. I got
So,
so perturbed at the lead singer in my band making that joke at my expense
yeah,
that I learned piano.
I can tell you how much of a drummer Gary is because I was sitting waiting to start this recording today, and he was late coming in. That's how much of a drummer
Dick.
he is. So, for everyone, welcome Gary to the show and to the channel. Not that you've not been on my channel many things before, but I was really excited to talk to you about this aspect of your artistry. Obviously, many people will know you, and for those who don't know you, you are the creator and host of Pop Culture Minefield channel on YouTube. You're also an accomplished lifelong comic artist. You are a writer, and also, as we're going to talk about today, a musician. And your latest, and you operate under the name of Cohen Ghost, and we'll talk about your career and how you got there. And you have a new album out, Songs of Love and Other Tragedies. And I recently reviewed the album, and I really wanted to talk to you now about the album, about the songs, how all that came about, and your career as a musician. Now, there will be links in the description to how to find Gary and how to find the album and the music. But you can obviously follow Gary on Twitter. He is also, as I say, Pop Culture Minefield channel. He is a Cohen's Ghost YouTube channel as well. And we'll take a little look at some of those things later. But let's right now start talking about the music, which is obviously an important facet of your career and your artistry. How did you get started in music, my friend?
Well, my oldest brother, Stephen, uh, he really was the reason I got to play drums at all. Because when he got shipped out to Vietnam, his drum kit was sitting in the living room. And so, like during the day, because I wasn't in school yet, so I would go in, and the only person there was mom. And sometimes she was like out of the house, because we were latchkey kids. Mom would leave, and I'm at home. It's like, I mean, that's been an ongoing joke with my family, with me. Is like, I asked both my parents, I ever have chicken pox, and neither of them can remember. I don't
Is it,
know.
yeah, and this is
In
back
the
in the
way I,
70s. We're talking the
yeah,
1970s here.
60s and 70s.
60s and
I
70s.
was part of this took place in 68 through 70, when my brother was in the Marines, and I was like 5 years, 4 to 5 years old, and I'd get in on his drum set and just start whacking town. And I thought he was going to be mad when he got back, and instead he actually started teaching me how to play drums. So I started playing drums at a very young age. And then as a kid in Virginia, because my dad, that whole ordeal of my dad kidnapping me from Arizona and fleeing across the United States to
Well, that's
Virginia.
another video entirely.
Yeah. My life's crazy, and when I tell people, about a lot of my music was written about my daughter when she was kidnapped
Mm.
and parental family kidnapping, and I got her back thanks to the Illinois State Police. And but I wrote so much music about that stuff, the trauma, and
Mm.
it's stuff that's dark. But then you find out, you and I joke a lot, and about my sense of humor. I have a very dark sense of humor, and so that's where it comes from, is that trauma. And the same thing with the music. And so drumming was what I started with. Then I played in a band with Keller Williams, who's part of the string cheese incident around the United States. He's very well known in the folk music, and he was my lead
Well,
singer guitarist in my band.
yeah.
We were called um, the Symptoms because we did like 6 Cure covers. And as an asshole drummer, I said, "We're doing so many Cure covers. Why don't we call ourselves the Symptoms?"
The symptoms.
And he said, "I love it." Danny, the bassist, Danny Martellino, is like, "Oh, I love the name." I'm like, "It's a fucking joke."
You didn't want to go as far as the disease, then, calling
Yeah,
yourselves the disease.
chlamydia.
Well, you could have said the disease is better than the cure.
It's like, you know, we're a social disease, but we're not the really scary one. We're
Yeah.
the one that everybody has.
At this point, were you songwriting all the time as well? At this point,
When I was a kid, I heard this song by Donny Osmond, and I really liked it. I think it was like 5 where I heard this song by Donny
it
Osmond
wasn't
or
puppy
the
love,
Osmonds,
was it?
and it may very well have been that gay, yeah. And but I heard a song that they did, and I used to confuse or conflate the music of the Osmonds and the Jackson Five at first because they were around the same time, and so I would go, "Well, isn't that something?" But the fact is I'm pretty sure it was an Osmond song, and I used to watch the Osmond cartoons and Jackson Five cartoons, and they
Mm,
would always play music on them. And there was this one song, and it wasn't Puppy Love. I can't remember what the hell it was,
mm.
but it like hit me as a kid, sort of like Helen Reddy hit me as a kid, and
Okay.
Joni Mitchell hit me as a kid with her lyrics. And another one that hit me was the girl that's had anorexia.
Oh, Karen
The
Carpenter,
Carpenters. Karen Carpenter, because I
yeah,
knew she was a drummer, and I was already keyed in on drummers,
singing drummer. Yeah.
and I love that, and I love their music. It was really, sloppy, sweet music, but you're a kid, and so I kind of forgive myself. I fucking watched the Muppets for God's sake. Of course, I like that kind of stuff.
I actually have always been a big fan of the Carpenters and the songwriting and production and the melodic
Absolutely.
stuff. It's beautiful stuff. I mean, some of it was
Well,
written
she
by
has probably
themselves,
one
some
of the
by
most perfect voices.
yeah. They had some great,
Um,
as well as their own writing. They had some great writers writing for them as well, doing Burt Bacharach and whatever. I to this
and
day
I'm
I
a
love
huge
the
Burt
Carpenters.
Bacharach fan, by the way.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that you've done a lot of rock stuff and you're hugely inspired by rock, but also from a songwriting perspective, it sounds like there's more introspective and more melodic material too as inspired.
Well, when I first started writing, I didn't write for myself. I was in a band, and I found it kind of easy. And oddly, they wanted me to do vocals, and I'm like, I'm not really a singer. And but they thought it was kind of neat because I could actually do something close to that while drumming. And they were like, that's really cool. You can do that. And I was with this kind of punk new wave band. And we wrote some stuff. And then, like I said, I was earlier on with Keller and those guys, and they didn't want to do any of the music I wrote. It was too well. I played it on piano, and so all they could hear is like Phil Collins, and I'm like, no, this is more progressive than that. And but they couldn't hear past the instrument,
Yeah.
so it became problematic. So I just gave up wanting to perform my own music. But as time went by, I would play with bands, and I got frustrated creatively because I'm not fucking Ringo, for God's sakes. I'm accomplished at doing this, and finally
Don't
I
listen,
quit.
Ringo. Don't listen to
Yeah,
him.
don't listen, Ringo.
I love Ringo.
So poor Ringo.
I love
I
Ringo.
love that Family Guy one where it's like, look, guys, I did a song, and Paul goes, "Oh, great, mate. We'll put it over here on the refrigerator."
Yeah, it reminds me of the SNL sketch where you can give Ringo less, when they're trying to pay them. You don't.
It
The
was
poor.
so
I've seen.
mean
I
of
love Ringo.
Ringo. I do too.
But he is a great singing drummer, and obviously you're not a singing drummer. You don't like to
I
sing.
I don't like singing, and so when I did my first 2 albums, um, I tried my best, and they're good. I've had great compliments for the music, and oddly, I got a girl Bree to come in and sing one song, and oddly, people who listen to my music go, "We prefer your version because it's more evocative."
Now,
Hers is pretty
is
melodious.
is this the singer on your current album? You have a
Now
female
she
voice.
was
That's a
on.
different. Yeah,
I worked with her back in 2010,
right.
and she came in to work with me on my song "All Is Lost." And I released the single finally in 2021, I think.
Okay.
And I didn't release the one she sang on because everybody that kept listening kept going, "We prefer yours."
So the All Is
Even though I did.
Lost that is on the current Cohen's Ghost album, which is
These are all new, updated revisits
updated
to
revisit.
old songs,
Okay,
and
because
there are
there
two
is
versions of "Building on the Silence," which that song is about the kidnapping of my daughter
yeah.
and how I got through it.
Which is
And
this is that the song with the female voice? Because I know you were very interested in having a female
Phantom Love is.
Phantom
Phantom
Love.
Love is actually about my divorce
Right.
and with my daughter Zoe's mother. And Phantom Love talks about that strange place you are when you've ended a relationship with someone that you've been with for a while, and had a strong relationship with. And in fact, I have always said that I'd probably still be with her if it weren't for our kid, but
Yeah.
I had to take care of her. And my wife had mental problems. And I've always said I could have dealt with all of her emotional mental problems without the kid. But with the kid, I had to protect her from her mother. And I took that role very serious.
So do you feel that your songwriting, when you talk about real life serious issues like that, that your songwriting is very much based in the realities of your life that you've experienced, as opposed to putting yourself in the third person?
Yeah, almost all the time, my songs are about something. And this album is just chock full of personal trauma, personal um, pain. Um, it's every single song has a meaning. Oddly, though, there are songs on there that are well. There's one song in particular, um, and I don't know if it's on this album. I think it's on the next album. Uh,
So
God,
there's
my
not.
music. There's another one coming out in October,
Okay. But
and
yeah, so the Cohen's Ghost album that's you've just released, which has got 27 tracks, by the way. on
I couldn't stop.
iTunes. It-
Anima, she, my fiance Danny, she unlocked something in my head,
mm,
and I haven't felt that creative in years. And
yeah.
it's a weird thing, love, because I had all these songs I hadn't finished because they were about love, and I'm like, how the fuck do you write about love when you're not in it?
Well, I mean, although you as an accomplished writer in other areas, it's you're probably able to project into characters, but from your perspective, your creative perspective, you really like to focus on those personal experiences.
Yeah, but like with Shoreline, it's actually a ghost story. And it's part of the Linus Tale trilogy. It was three songs that were three ghost stories, and that were all connected. And they weren't an anthology, but they were actually three connected
Yeah.
stories. And I wrote those with my buddy Mac because he sat down with me and helped me work out some of the ideas on them. And he's also why I'm called Cohen's Ghost. Um,
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that name, just briefly.
I was originally going by the name Sonic Temple when I first started writing and playing solo. And um, people kept expecting heavy metal from me because of the name Sonic Temple. And I'm like, I don't understand why there's an expectation with that, but I've got to figure out a different name because I don't want the wrong people, attract. When I say the wrong people, I don't want
Like, so
bitter
tell me who
people.
are the wrong people. Is
What
it
do you
metal?
mean the wrong? Yeah, right. I didn't want to me pegged as the wrong. God, I don't want to be pegged at
You don't
all.
want to be pegged at
Um,
all. Yeah, you didn't want to mislead a potential audience into thinking you were one thing
Lulling
and
them
you
into thinking it's one style of
really,
music, it's
because
something
that just
completely different.
disappoints people.
And
Yeah.
then it's a huge turnoff, and then you get negative comments. So I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I don't want to use my real name because I didn't want to confuse people because I was becoming an established artist, and as far as working on paintings, book covers, movie posters, comic books, etc. So I'm like, I got to keep them separated. So I I said, I got to come up with a name, and my buddy Mac had noticed that I had several reviews. And this is back when Acid Planet existed.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you remember Acid Planet, because I use Acid Pro for music editing. I liked Sony products. And now it's another company completely, but Sony was always who I bought from for everything. And so I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And all these reviews were coming in, and I would say one third of the reviews paid a compliment of saying that I wrote like Leonard Cohen, and with
Oh,
my and
okay.
with my rough voice, I sounded. And so Matt goes, "Well, you know what you need to do." I said, "What?" He says, "Your my old army nickname was Ghost," and he says, "So just go by Cohen's Ghost." And I said, "But Leonard Cohen's still alive."
At
And he
that
says,
point.
he says, that's even better. And I'm like, I don't know how, but okay. So I went by that name.
Yeah.
So Cohen's Ghost, Mac is the one who named me as Cohen's Ghost. And I was able to do my music. And it wasn't until the last 5 years that I finally started saying, yeah, that's me.
So your musical identity is now under the name Cohen's Ghost. You had, as you say, recorded some
Well,
material
my personal
before.
name is now on the copyright for all my music too.
Okay. Yeah. So you had recorded some albums before this one in the past, and you've got another one coming soon. But let's talk about this specific album, which is available on all good outlets everywhere,
All platforms. Yep.
all
Amazon, everybody.
platforms. Yeah. And links will be in the description. As you say, it's an outpouring of 27 songs on the Apple iTunes version. I'm assuming it's the same elsewhere. Uh, what was the creative process that led up to you recording these 27 songs
Well,
on
I
one
had
album?
written a new album starting in 2008.
Right.
And in fact, some of the music is from 2008 because I'd written the music. But this time I decided I didn't want to do the vocals. I wanted to write music that was more complicated, that I could find a singer. And it was a fucking nightmare, to be honest with you, trying to find a singer. Because, I have found in my professional experience as a musician that other musicians tend to be the most unreliable sons of bitches I've ever met in my life. And I get so frustrated with that. It's because I'm always where I say I'm going to be. I'm very punctual. I'm funny about, following through with things. And if I fuck up, it's because I've got so much stuff going on that I forget, and then I profusely apologize. But it's so rare when it happens. And as an artist, I'm used to helping people with their stuff. But when it comes time for me, it's like no answer. Sorry, leave a
Mm-hmm.
message. And I'm like, fuck, man. And I don't want to get like get a bruised pussy over it and get all upset about it. But it got frustrating. So I spent 5 years trying to get this album done, and finally in
So this is
2015.
some of the challenges, though. I mean, the challenges
Yeah,
were just getting the
because I was
collaborators
writing
on
music
board.
I could not perform vocally. I couldn't do
Yeah.
it. It was too complicated. Too many, just the scales were ridiculous, and I was hitting, writing in, keys that I can't sing in. I'm very limited. I have this like minor area I can stay inside of, and that's it. And there are recordings of me trying to sing them, and I had one of
Demos, you
those like,
call those demos,
yeah, demos, and I'm just like,
guide
yeah, I'm not
vocal.
really. I'm nobody is ever going to fucking hear this song
Yeah.
ever.
But even leading up to that point, in terms of your writing process for these songs, do you start typically with the lyrical idea, or is it a musical idea, or doesn't it really matter to you? Is it all coming from everywhere?
A lot of times I start with a rhythm because I'm really big as a drummer. You know that.
That's the Peter Gabriel method.
Yeah, I w- I would write these drum parts first on a
Right.
lot of songs. Not every song, but a lot of my music was drums first. And I would get this idea for a beat, and then I would get a melody while I'm doing the beat, and I go, okay, that's where I need to go. I'd hum it out, and then later I would pick it out on the piano or keyboard. Or then there are sometimes when I just had this song in my head, and I would go over on piano, and I would pluck it out on piano. And in fact, there is an original recording of me raw singing a song, and Anima even said, Danny said, actually, you have a very nice voice. I said, that's when I'm playing and singing at the same time
Right.
because it's completely different when I do that. And the piano kind of guides my voice.
So,
And
so
I can
you're,
halfway sing.
but in terms of instruments, then, so you're drumming and playing the piano. Is there other instruments that you're playing on this? How is the music constructed?
Well, a lot of the instruments are just me on my. I had a Roland keyboard when I wrote
Okay.
all that. And that Roland was not a synthesizer, it was analog. And I would record instruments. Like when you heard that new song I sent you, um, the timpani drums on it were actually analog. I actually recorded me on timpani drums,
Okay.
and then I put it into my keyboard so I could do other things with it. And I tended to like to do that. Like I did that with the udu. I don't know if you know that drum. It's an African drum that you use a
Yes.
rib bone to play, and you keep your hand on it, and you can stretch it, and it's a talking drum.
Yeah.
And I played that, and I recorded me playing that. There's actually on one song I recorded me with a giant fucking rainmaker, and I also got a hold of that Australian didgeridoo, and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and I
Yeah. Yeah.
recorded that. So all the instruments on there on that on a majority of the songs are just me playing bass, playing, and I'm actually really good at playing bass lines because as a drummer you play with the bassist. I mean that's who I always played with. I didn't give two shits what the guitarist or the singer were doing unless I had to do a flare,
Mm.
because every once in a while you do that, or play off of what they're doing with vocals. I'm listening to my partner in crime, which is the bassist, and there's a tight relationship so often in bands between bassists and drummers because we're the foundation of whatever it is they're playing.
Yeah, well, that's because typically bassists and or drummers are usually homeless unless they've got a girlfriend. So
Almost,
so the two of them tend to team up. So at least one of them might have somewhere to live.
yeah, it's like if the drummer or bassist doesn't have a girlfriend, that
They're
means he's
homeless.
homeless.
Sweet. Uh, so are there? I mean, there are certainly other voices on this album. So I mean, I just threw up
They're
the
all hired and or
yeah.
I also experimented with it, and I wasn't too sure how I felt about
So
it. I'm
burn
still
you
not.
up, for instance, burn you up, which is one of my favorite tracks. Very funky,
That's
got a
a
very
that's
funky,
a hire from
soulful voice.
Fiverr.
So it's a very soulful vocal on that, very funky. One of the more
Thank you.
upbeat tracks. Definitely one of my favorites. Again, In the Wind, I see, and there's other funky tracks on there. I've definitely got specific different voices. As you say, you've got also the female perspective singing your lyrics, though, in Phantom Love.
Well,
What's
Phantom
that
Love is
song really? Yeah, tell us more about that song.
okay. So I started talking about it a little bit earlier. Is I was going through this weird thing. It was while Zoe was missing, and I just started writing music to keep me occupied, keep me from losing my mind. And Phantom Love came from that sensation when you wake up and after you've had a breakup and you think they're still there and they're not. And I compared it to phantom limb pain that
Yeah,
once you disconnect with somebody who you've been with for a long time, it feels like something's been severed in your life and it doesn't feel natural. And so when you look at the lyrics of that song, You're hearing the discussion of somebody talking to themselves, trying to explain what they're feeling, and
Mm,
that feeling of being cut off from someone that they care about, and they're not there anymore, but you still feel them. And I was
yeah.
going through that like massively because I'd only separated from her about 4 months before all this shit went down with the
I think
kidnapping and all of it.
that track and others on here. I mean, when I did my review, one of the things that strikes me about the album is it has a contemporary feel, but doesn't have a contemporary lyrical feel because awful lot of modern contemporary music is either bland or lyrically formulaic, constructed by computer almost. Whereas this is a very sophisticated, thoughtful, lyrically mature album. So the
Yeah.
songs actually mean something. They're not just a sound.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I'll read the lyrics to it. So
Yeah.
this home has become so haunted. The bedroom is cold and bare. The kitchen table holds nothing, just the shadow of two once there. Nothing can express the sense of lost sensations I feel of late. Like something has been removed from me, my mind and soul amputate. And
Mm.
then the chorus is Phantom Love, can you feel it? Phantom Love, can you feel it grow? I feel the cut connections, extensions made and lost. Move on without you. I dance this dance alone. My feet move at this rhythm. My heart keeps up the same pace. My voice, it drives the engine, but I cannot fill this space. And some people go, are you saying feel or fill? And I said, either one fits.
Yeah. But that's a great example of, for me, I mean, amongst many other contemplative and meaningful tracks of what I say when I say it's a mature album. You know, if it's an album for grown-ups, whereas the music does sound very contemporary and not in a bad way. I mean, it's still, you can hear the influences, the older influences, but it's a contemporary sound, but not like a lot of modern pop is vacuous to me. It's not saying anything that
Well,
doesn't really
it
mean anything.
lacks any fortitude.
Yeah,
You need to have heart when you're writing. And the only way for that to happen, for it to really mean something, is to write about something that matters to you.
yeah,
And I dislike most pop music because I don't think it does a fairly good job of writing good lyrics. You'll see every once in a while there's this movement towards writing good lyrics from old pop music, but you don't get much of that today with what's in the top 40. And I'm sorry.
yeah. I find there's just an awful lot of lyrics constructed by. I mean, it could be they all are written by AI. They're just vacuous sound. These sounds they are making sounds, but they're not from
It's
personal
like, let's get this
experience.
straight beat and just get some words in there. I mean, you got
Yeah,
people writing on there about their wet pussy and shit like that, and it's like, I just, I cringe at that. It's
yeah.
like, what are you? Why are you? You're just crass.
Yeah. So
People are
what you're
just
really
crass.
getting with this particular album, "Songs of Love and Other Tragedies," for me, is you're getting a very mature album. That's not to say that the music hasn't got variety. I mean, you've got tracks like "We Were Only 17" is a very sort of wistful, sunny
And that's really
pop
about my
driven
friends
song.
from high school.
Yeah.
Um, at the heart of that song is Jim Woodward, Mike Beatty, Vic Armstrong, Mike Anderson, who I lost in 2014. Um, Almost every single friend of mine that's died since 2000 is was killed by diabetes,
Mhm.
and it just wanted to look back on my feelings about these people, and we were only 17 is the culmination of thinking about that last summer before we
Yeah.
all went our separate ways. Well, some of
Indeed.
us did.
And that's why I think it's a very wistful song, but at the same time, it's very sunny, very upbeat, very pop driven, not necessarily fluff pop,
It
but
is a
pop.
pop
Yeah,
song. There's a
it's
pop
pop song.
feel
Yeah,
to it. There's a
where
hook to it.
yeah, whereas you've got other tracks that are very much more contemplative. That's a word I always have trouble with. Closer to you, closer to me, for instance, very much.
That is a song I started writing back in 2010, and I never finished it. There was a problem I ran into with several of my songs. You Are My Song, in fact. All I had was the first verse because I understood about writing about love because there was great potential of love in me. But when I raised Zoe, I was single almost the entire time 18 years. I was single. I didn't date at all.
Mm.
And I just wanted all my focus on her because I was terrified of fucking up raising my kid. I really was. I was more afraid of failing.
Everybody should be that's raising a kid. It should make you want to try harder.
And so it made me decide to go it alone. And I occasionally would stick my toes in the water and then go, now isn't going to work. And In fact, when the breakups would happen, it was such a relief going, yeah, I couldn't handle that. I couldn't handle that. This is not the right time for me. And finally, it hit the right time, but then I was old. And I'm like going, oh, what am I going to do now? I'm never going to fall in love again, and I'm done with
Uh,
relationships in so many ways. But I
that's how
had all
you
this,
feel at that time. Yes, that's how you feel at that time.
and it lasted for years.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause Zoe left home at 2017, and I dabbled, and I still couldn't get into it. I felt I was too set in my ways because I'm a dick.
Well, that
Uh,
strikes me as something that's is a bit of a statement song for me. Is the No Dinosaur song,
well,
where
that's
you're
my fuck you song to a lot of the toxic people that were in my life, and and I wrote that originally for Mac. He did a short film. I produced it, and the film got lost by the guy I hired to do photography. Him and his wife to do photography and for their equipment. I rented their equipment and I bought all the film or video. We shot it on HD, and I'm in the movie, but I'm not the main character. And I'm the name of the movie. I love the
just
name of
make
the.
a small backdoor entrance into that one, don't
It
you?
was called Fatty,
Okay.
and ironically, I had lost all my weight. But then he started shooting the film, so
So
I
you
had
made
to
yourself
pad.
skinny.
I had to wear padding and to look fat again.
Yeah.
And because I gained weight, I got it up to a certain weight, and then I lost it all. And then um, we made the movie Fatty, and he turned the video. He told me over to this guy. I don't want to say his name. He's an asshole, and the guy withheld the video from release because he felt that the director Mac owed him money. And when he finally told me, it was too late. It'd been years. And the video was lost in one of his moves. And I said, you had no right to withhold that video. I owned it. Mac
Mhm.
didn't own it. I did. And it led to an ugly thing. And I got so pissed. But I wrote this song for the movie. And it was called No Dinosaur.
No, no dinosaur. Yeah.
It would be the outgoing song, the outro for the film. And I'm like, well, fuck it. Then I'll just release this song on my album. And I did. I released it on my second album. And I always liked it because it had this great fucking beat. I love the rhythm to it. Very Peter Gabriel esque, you know.
Yeah, I think it's the most Gabriel esque, if you were to ask me, on the album. And I'm not saying that's a bad
Building in
thing.
the
And
Silence is too. I
yeah,
think Building in the Silence and
that's
especially the original version
yeah.
that I did on the first album, and that one was written in what I refer to as um, oh, I just forgot the word for it, conscious flow,
Oh yeah, yeah.
subconscious flow. And I hadn't slept for several days, and I was becoming really punchy. And I sat down and just wrote this song, recorded it, and then I went and I slept for like a day. And I can actually here. Let me do something for you
Building on the
here.
silence. Yeah.
I'm going to play you something so you can actually hear something for real from me. Let me share my screen. This was the original me sitting down on my Roland keyboard and winging, making up a song. And you can hear me fuck it up. It's funny. this was the original one. Make sure it's turned up all the way. Yeah, this is me sitting down on my keyboard and just writing. I hit play. I'm almost afraid to hit it again.
I feel like Caddyshack. Well, we're waiting.
There we
So,
go.
there we go. I can hear it.
This is me doing this raw.
That's what they call. Is that, careful with those kind of statements.
In the buff.
This is your vocal. Nice descending key changing.
And I kind of just don't know where to go from there. So, that was the first time I sat down to play that. And eventually it evolved into what's on the album, which, did I stop sharing?
Oh no, I did that. Sorry, I stopped. Yeah.
So I can do.
You were frozen, so I was just trying to cut down the bandwidth.
There we go.
Look at the speed of that thing rotating.
Same song.
Tell me that you think your heart is your only. You can say what you want from the top of your walls.
And that's one line I changed. Instead of behind, I switched it to a top your wall. Like she's looking down.
But you know you're headed for a fall. I will catch you when you fall. I will catch you when you fall. I will be there when it all comes down. I will.
So, just to let you know, this isn't about a guy singing about a girl. This is me singing about myself.
Okay, right, I get it. Yeah. The vocal for that then, were these vocals, the vocalists, did they come to you or did they record
No,
those
I
things?
went and found them.
Right.
Again,
No, but did
out,
they actually physically record in your space or did you
No, I
collaborate
would send them,
remotely?
and then they would send me versions, and then I would pick what I wanted.
Yeah, but you are the sole producer on this music, though.
Yeah, I produced all of this. This
Right,
is me.
okay. Yeah.
This is mine. Nobody gets credit on this. They
Final
got paid.
mix. Yeah.
They were paid. So I'm not even mentioning their names on here. But the other thing I did that was experimental was I did my own vocals on a couple of songs. Not going to say which ones, where I then did pitch correction on them.
Yeah.
And then put them through AI to be somebody else's voice. And
Okay. I wondered about that. Yeah.
I was kind of pleased with it, but at the same time, made me very nervous doing that. And so I only did it twice. because I just felt like I don't know if I'm ready for dealing with that.
It's a decent experiment, though. I mean, especially if you've got, as you say, only a certain range as a vocalist. I think this is a legitimate use of things like pitch change, AI, because you want to retain control of the music. You want to do a vocal, you just can't physically fit it in. So
Exactly.
it's not like
Because
you're
I've
creating.
got a very narrow range. You heard my voice.
Yeah,
I have to play lower on the keyboard for me to do the vocals because I have a
yeah,
very low voice. So, but also limited range. Now, I have that other song, Phantom Love, which I kind of wanted to mention because once again, this has Dave Bell's guitar on it. This
yeah.
is, I took my original music and his original guitar and redid it with a female vocalist. And it was, oh, I was terrified doing this too because I had to pull everything back apart because the original first album I put out, I lost the master tracks to.
Oh dear. Yeah.
But well, my computer crashed and I lost everything that was on it. We tried to recover it. All of those masters are gone. And but I went and I took a high quality um, CD quality copy of the song from the original CD, and I went and pulled it apart. And I didn't know if stemming it would work, and it worked. I was
That's good.
able to stem my original song for the most part, and enough to where I was satisfied that I was able to remix it. And so this girl's vocals on here is so fucking
Yeah, and
amazing.
make a nice addition to the album to have that female vocal on a couple of tracks.
And the acoustic on this is my keyboard. That's me.
I was wondering about that. How much of the guitar was
That's
guitar
Dave.
and how much was.
That's Dave Bell. The electric guitar is Dave.
Yeah, and there's some nice guitar tracks. Like I've made a few. I like In the Wind I See, All Is Lost, Slingshot to Your Heart, which is probably the most rock track. Has got some nice guitar.
Slingshot to Your Heart is one of those songs where it just came out of nowhere with me.
It's the most rock one, I think, in the album.
I like this girl's voice, and it's very haunting the way she does it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of haunting atmospheric material on this album.
Which is why the Ghost name is perfect.
Has become so haunted. The bedroom
I love that descending guitar thing that Dave did.
As I say, there's a few tracks that have got some really nice guitar on them.
table holds nothing, just the shadow of two once there.
Very bluesy.
That's my drums. Very Peter Gabriel again.
Like something has been removed from me. My mind and soul amputate. Phantom love, can you feel it? Phantom love, can you feel it grow? Phantom love, phantom love.
Yeah,
Nice.
just
Nice.
Dave Bell. Because when I wrote that song originally, it felt so flat to me, and so I messaged my good Canadian guitarist buddy. I'm like, "Hey man, you think you can lay some guitar on this song?" I sent it to me, and he's like, "Oh heck yeah," because he's a real polite Canadian. Oh heck yeah,
Golly
and he's
gee.
still out there. He's still out there. I would love to work with him again. Uh, I only work with a handful of other musicians when I feel I need something that I'm not quite doing. Because
Yeah,
like
well, that's
my buddy Ultra Rob, you've heard me talk about him. He's actually a very good guitarist, even though he came up in the punk. Like, there's really not a lot of style in punk. It's just drive. But he's actually a very good guitarist, and I've worked with him too. But
There's some nice guitar flourishes, on certain tracks. I mean, as I say, the All Is Lost has got some beautiful guitar. Slingshot to Your Heart, In the Wind I
Slingshot to
See.
Your Heart is well, learning how to map the human heart is the first song on the album. I still have some problems with that song, the recording, and but I had to release the album. I'm like, yep, go. Just there's no such thing as a completed song. There's only an abandoned one.
That's a great saying. I like that.
Yeah, it's been around for a long since the Bible. It came from the
Yeah,
Bible, and but later, was it John Sayles said it about film? There's no such thing as a completed film, only an abandoned one.
yeah. Well, this
And
is
I'm
it. I mean, there are musicians who obsessively work on stuff for years rather than release it.
well,
I
15
think.
years for this album.
Yeah.
So, but I do obsess on my music because everything means something in the song. Like building on the silence, when you hear the song building on the silence and you really pay attention to lyrics, you might mistake that song as being about a man and a woman, but that song is about my daughter and me,
Hmm.
and that I was separated from her. And the line, because like I openly wept after I woke up from that day of sleeping. I slept for about
Hmm.
24 hours. I think I got up once to pee and then went right back to bed and fell asleep and didn't wake up because I didn't drink anything. I didn't have to keep getting up. And I slept for
Hmm.
about 24 hours. And when I went back in there to listen to it, I wept because I
Yeah.
knew what the words meant. I understood what I was
Yeah, it's
saying.
meaningful.
But
It's
other people
meaningful.
don't. Yeah, people don't. They'll hear it and they'll think it's about a relationship. And I'm like, no, it's about being separated from my daughter. And when I'm asking in the song, the singer says the line, and I ask you, let me sleep tonight. Let me sleep tonight. Because tonight I'm building on the silence, stone by
Hmm.
stone. And they don't understand that when I originally recorded the song, it starts out quieter and then builds to a cacophony of music. It's not really a true cacophony because it's not madness, but it's got a lot of buildup to the chorus,
Hmm.
and I thought that was symbolically the way you do something like that because I'm building on the silence, stone by stone.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a great track. I mean, it's. I really enjoy this album. I mean, I listen to it a lot, and I don't listen to a lot of current day music. So it's
because a
quite.
lot of it's crap, you know.
Yeah.
I freely admit it. Every once in a while, I'll get hit by something. Like oddly, my daughter was into this band called the 1975, I think was the name of it.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Nah, I don't want to." She goes, "No, Dad, listen to this song." And she played this one song for me. I'm like, "Holy shit, I fucking like that song."
Hmm.
So, I'll freely admit my daughter has introduced me to artists I would have never
There's
listened to.
always stuff. I mean, there is always stuff. I just feel it's a slight. It's a trickle now, not a flood.
Yeah,
Which applies to many things like going to the bathroom. No,
as you get older.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about influences. We mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned stuff at the start of the show that inspired you. You mentioned Peter Gabriel a few times. I know you're a huge fan. I don't think there's anything wrong with wearing influences on your sleeve because we're all influenced by something, and it does inform our
Yeah, the
work.
big influences on me were Leonard Cohen. Um, I just forgot his name. Oh my God, he played Renfield in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Tom Waits.
Oh, Tom Waits.
Uh,
I'm a huge Tom Waits fan. His
and
Waltzing Matilda is just one of the
it's
most
like one of
beautiful
my
things
favorite songs of all time.
ever,
Yeah,
ever.
just just an amazing song. Um, I grew up
Tom Trowber's
on the
Blues, we should
Beatles.
call it properly.
Never was a fan of the Stones. Love
Uh,
the Beatles.
I mean, I've noticed Beatles touches in the album and Peter Gabriel touches, and for all that you mentioned him earlier, there is some Phil Collins touches in there too.
There are,
Uh, and
and I don't
another,
mind that.
and there's another guy that I don't know if you're a fan of or not over the years, but I felt a couple of tracks sounded a little bit like they could have been influenced by him. Is Todd Rundgren?
Love Todd Rundgren.
Yeah, I just
Um,
felt a couple of tracks were like you could have put them on an early '70s Todd Rundgren album and they would have fit perfectly.
he was my first true steps into love songs,
Yeah.
even if they're tragic. You know, I love the way he. First of all, he's got a great voice. I love his use of piano in the song. Hey, it's me. Is that the
Hello,
song?
it's me. Hello, It's
Hello, it's
Me.
me.
Well, that
Um,
album, Something Anything, that album from like 72 or whenever that album's from, which Hello, It's Me is a double album. There are tracks on your album that would fit very well on that album, I think.
Absolutely, because uh, he was a true influence on me with piano songs, and
It's
as
funny
were
being such a great guitar player.
yeah, I know, isn't that funny? But I loved him on piano when he did that because I watched him. I saw him play it live on Don Kirshner's rock concert,
Mm. I've seen him in
and
concert before years ago, and
well, I don't know if you watched Don Kirshner here in
I've seen
America.
them all on YouTube since. Yeah,
Yeah, I watched it as a kid. Every weekend, you had Midnight Special and Don Kirshner's rock concert. Hi, I'm Don
right.
Kirshner. You know, he was so Jewish, and I loved. Billy Joel was one of those people. Elton John had the biggest impact on me for piano rock. Um, you will hear him in many of the piano chords. In fact, there's one song that you I just sent you where you only hear the piano solidly building up to the first chorus, and that's 100% Elton John.
I think we tend to forget, or many people tend to forget, or don't know because they're younger. There was a time before the Disney pop Elton John that we have today,
Right.
up to let's say Captain Fantastic, where Elton John was a fabulous rock singer, songwriter, musician.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah,
Someone
Captain
Saved My
Fantastic
Life
for
Tonight.
me. But
Yeah, just
yeah, he
Madman Across the Water. I felt
yeah
that he
he,
was writing
he
about me.
he has been something else than that ever since celebrity or whatever it was. But then he was a
It started at the
really
end of the 80s.
serious rock performer. Yeah,
It started with him, the decline in the late 80s when because everybody loves that album, um, because it's got that beautiful song, Nikita and Sacrifice on it.
yeah, I know
But
the one you mean.
that was his straightforward pop album.
Yeah, and I lost interest then. Up to Captain
I did too.
Fantastic, but up to Captain Fantastic, phenomenal artist, and then he
Same thing
embraced the
with Phil
pop
Collins.
side.
For me, the first two albums are amazing. Face Value and Hello, I Must Be Going. He
Yeah,
lost me at No Jacket Required.
yeah, then it's the Disneyfication of it all. Then, but
I
um,
hated it. It was homogenized pop crap.
yeah,
Susudio, for Christ's sake. You know,
yeah. But I certainly hear influences of all those artists, and it's a great thing. And so, what I'm
Pink
trying to say
Floyd
to
in
the
there too.
audience is, if you're into the Beatles, Peter Gabriel, good Phil Collins, Elton John, Todd Rundgren, there are influences in here in your music. I find, but not. This is not. There's a big difference between influence and copy, and there's no copy here. It's influence. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. Even though I've done covers, by the way, a lot of people don't know I've done covers. I did Leonard Cohen's. Um, oh, I just forgot the song. His classic.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, Hallelujah. I did a very Peter Gabriel-esque version. In fact, I challenge people to listen to my cover songs before the lyrics start and tell me what song I'm playing. Because
Okay.
I've always been of the ilk that if you're going to cover a song, do your version of it. Don't do what they did.
Yeah.
Do your version of it. Like when what's her name did oh I forgot her name. I think she's Welsh. Uh,
Well,
up
that
that hill,
they
up
rule.
that hill, yeah, up that hill. That
Kate
Becky
Bush.
Bush.
I think
Um,
she Welsh. She's English.
she
Maybe
did
she was
Rocket
Welsh
Man.
before.
Have you heard her cover of Rocket
Yeah,
Man?
well, I've got that. Yes, because that was from an album of covers of Elton John stuff by other artists. So I've got
That
that one.
was amazing. On that album, there are only three songs. Four songs I really liked. Um, that one, Rocket Man by Kate Bush. I really love Sting's cover of Come Down in Time. Um,
No one will
and
ever cover Rocket Man like William Shatner, though. So that's. I know it, but that's a good album. That, but the Kate Bush. I'm a big Kate Bush fan. I certainly
same here.
up to certain. She was first few albums fantastic. but and very heavily influenced herself and a friend of Peter Gabriel and Dave Gilmour and guys like that. So,
Yeah, Dave Gilmour. If not for Dave Gilmour, we wouldn't have Kate Bush.
that's right. Yeah, he promoted her.
And I'm a
Anyway,
big Dave Gilmour fan. I fucking love him.
yeah,
Pink
he's quite
Floyd.
fond of you too.
I wish.
So, I think we'll just head towards hurtle towards a conclusion here before we wrap up. I'd like to ask you what comes next in your music. What is the next?
Well, my next album, I'm torn because I had a vote to see what other people thought, and a majority of them ended up voting for the one that I'm not going to use for the title of the album. It's simply, I'm just decided that I'm going to go with the second one that was winning at first, and I'm surprised didn't win.
Which one is
Cohen's Ghost, In the Flesh.
In the Flesh? Well, Chris, the reason I was a little bit suspicious about that one is because that is a Pink Floyd title as well.
Well, it's kind of funny because, again, Pink Floyd was a huge impact on me musically.
I think it is. Yeah.
In the Flesh is actually a creepy fucking story. I like writing ghost stories. And if I don't write something personal, it's a ghost story. I don't write just stories. I write ghost stories in my music. And on that one, it's the story of a man who was murdered by his wife and for another man. And he discovers the ability to possess her. And when he possesses her, he makes her kill the man and stays inside of her until her dying day.
So it truly is a love story then.
It's a horrifying love story of this guy who exacts his revenge on her for her poisoning him. And then he makes her kill the thing that she loves and then stays with her as she goes to prison for the rest of her life.
Cool. Well, I look forward to hearing that.
Well, I sent it to you. It's the song In the
I
Flesh.
haven't had a chance to hear it yet, man. I'm sorry.
I can play it because it's not copywritten at this point.
Well, you could do that, yeah.
Yeah, I could. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. It's on my hard drive. I have close to about 8 terabytes of music and still stuff I haven't released yet.
While you're looking for that, I would like to remind everybody that obviously you're Gerry Kissel. Lots of links will be in the description. The album we've been talking about today is Cohen Ghost's Songs of Love and Other Tragedies, available now at all good outlets.
This is the soft album.
Yes.
This is the pretty album.
Yeah, you can also find Gerry, obviously, Pop Culture Minefield, wonderful channel. Cohen's Ghost is also on YouTube. But yeah, for instance, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon, all these other outlets, there's hundreds of music outlets, you'll find Cohen's Ghost, Songs of Love and Other Tragedies. And obviously Gary's also on Twitter. Right, let's...
And I wanted to harness that as... because like I wanted to release 2 albums. I didn't want to do the intermix where you have like rock songs and love songs and rock songs and tragedies. I wanted to keep all the softer stuff on one album, and then the next album has all the hard rock on it, or the more progressive stuff. And this is progressive as hell. And again, I wrote the music to this in 2008. And so this is actually the original music.
So we're getting something that's not yet been released here.
Yep. So here you go. And it's a creepy fucking song. These are real timpani drums I use, like I told you. Gotta wait for that delay. This is again growing up on Pink Floyd that made me do this intro.
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon.
Absolutely. Listen to that bass line.
That is you playing an actual bass. No,
on keyboard.
Oh, on keyboard.
Like the finest
very emo vocals.
The sweet with the bitter.
This is my Edgar Allan Poe song.
This is the nothingness, no shape within the ether. I can't feel a thing, but I can see him underneath her.
Ether underneath her? Come on.
Potato style.
I can feel it coming.
You're a poet and you don't know it.
I can feel it coming. Oh, I can feel it coming on. Now that I'm in the flesh, everything becomes so clear. Now that I'm in the flesh, I can get so near. I will use you. I will taste you. Oh, and I will make you do to him what you did to me. The walls are closing in. Can you feel the cold? I can feel it through you. Better do as you're told. The edges red just like your lips. I can feel you sliding in. You traded me so cheaply. Now you can eat your sin. And I can feel it coming on. I can feel it coming on. I can feel it coming on. Oh, I can feel it coming on. Now that I'm in the flesh, everything becomes so clear. Now that I'm in the flesh, I can get so near. I will use you. I will taste you. Oh, and I will make you do to him what you did to me.
And we can
Nice.
stop there.
Nice, mate. Very nice. There we go. I just wanted to make sure I didn't hide you and I had the shared screen. Great stuff. Look forward to listening to that again. I know you said you sent it to me, but I've been a little bit out of commission the last few days. Thank you again for being here, mate. And thank you for
I
wonderful.
love being here, man. Hanging out with you is one of my favorite things to do. So
Likewise, and I really appreciate you sharing some of your history in music and your motivations and methods behind this great album, Songs of Love and Other Tragedies. I love the title. Any last words before we wrap up for the day?
Terwilliger, Boston, Fartworth, and Dingleberry.
Dingleberry, not Knob Knocker.
Oh, knock knocker. I hated the idea that this exists in the world of Dingleberry. I'm like, when I found out what that meant from my dad, I'm like, why does this exist?
You need to wipe it out, don't you?
Yeah, because I've always said, I'm not bothered by words existing, but that something became so prevalent that it had to get a name.
We don't just do music on this channel, we do linguistics too. No, thanks for being here, mate. Look forward to streaming with you again soon. As I say,
next Tuesday, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so. Links will be in the description for the Gerry and his music. And so thank you everyone for watching and listening. Please leave a like, share this stream out, subscribe, do all that stuff they tell us to do on YouTube, which I always forget to tell or ask people to do because I'm not very good at promotion. But thank you all for watching and listening to this video. Stay well and keep on rocking.